He didn't knock politely or say hello. He just leaned into my window like he already knew the ending and said, "Step out, this car's stolen," and the way he said stolen told me everything. Like the problem wasn't paperwork or plates or traffic law, it was me sitting there behind the wheel. I remember keeping my hands locked at 10 and 2, voice calm, breathing, slow, that muscle memory you build after years of knowing moments like this can turn bad fast. And I said, "Officer, I own the vehicle. I can show you proof." And he didn't even look interested, just reached into my jacket before I moved, yanked out my credential case, flipped it open, and I watched his face change when his eyes hit that one line under the badge. "Special agent." Yeah, that happened. Yeah. His skin drained white, then gray, then stiffened like fear trying to pretend it was authority. 3 full seconds of silence with traffic rolling by, and then he made the choice that still blows my mind. Turn around louder now. Hands behind your back and the cuffs snapped tight on my wrists. He saw it. He knew exactly who I was, and he cuffed me anyway. About 45 minutes before that, I was just a guy trying to get home to see his mom. Long drive, summer heat windows, cracked old jazz humming through the speakers. That kind of drive where your shoulders finally drop because you're almost there. My mom called through the car system, and I smiled before I even answered because no matter how old you get, that voice still hits you in the chest. "You driving safe, baby?" she asked. I was told her I'd be there soon, and she said she made peach cobbler still warm like food can fix exhaustion if you believe hard enough. She told me I'd been working too much, that I needed to rest, and I said I would, because sometimes you lie to your mother in the nicest way possible. Truth is, my job doesn't really turn off. I work federal investigations, public corruption, civil rights stuff, the kind of work that's mostly paperwork and patterns and late nights staring at body cam footage, not TV drama, but after a while you stop believing in the phrase routine stop. Routine for who? You know what I mean. When I took the exit into a wealthier part of the city, everything shifted. Streets got quieter, houses got bigger lawns, looked like somebody paid them to behave. The kind of neighborhood where you can feel an invisible line as soon as you cross it, like if you don't look like you belong, somebody's gonna decide that's their problem to solve. I'd seen the maps, the clusters of stops labeled suspicious vehicle, the polite language wrapped around ugly assumptions. And I heard my father's voice in my head. He was a cop, a real one, the kind who believed the badge was supposed to protect people. When I was a kid, he told me, "If you ever get pulled over, keep your hands where they can see them, answer clearly, don't argue, stay alive first, prove your point later." I didn't get it back then. As an adult, I get it too well. So when I saw the lights behind me, not sirens, just that quiet flash in the mirror, my body went automatic. Signal pull over, engine off, hands on the wheel, calm face. I watched him approach in the side mirror, white guy, late 20s, maybe tight haircut. One hand hovering a little too close to his weapon like he wanted the moment to go a certain way. He knocked on my window hard, 3 taps, and when I rolled it down, hot air rushed in. License, registration, proof of insurance. Now. No greeting, no reason, just commands. I asked why I was stopped. He ignored it. I narrated every move as I reached for my documents, slow and visible, because I've read too many reports that start with "subject made a sudden movement" and end with someone not going home. He ran my plate. Dispatch came back clean. Vehicle registered to me. No warrants, nothing. He walked back like the paperwork offended him. "This your car?" he asked. I said yes. He leaned closer, eyes scanning me like I was a math problem he didn't like the answer to. "How'd you afford a car like this?" There it was. Not traffic law, not safety, just that old question dressed up as curiosity. I told him I didn't have to answer and asked if I was free to go. His jaw tightened. "Step out of the vehicle." I stepped out slowly, hands visible, feeling the heat off the pavement, hearing the city keep moving like nothing was happening, which is always the strangest part. How normal everything else stays while your world shrinks to a few feet of sidewalk and one person's mood. I said I'm reaching for my credentials inside my jacket. Federal identification. He snapped hands where I can see them. I froze, palms open. "Officer, I'm a federal agent. My badge and ID are in my inside pocket." He didn't let me reach. He stepped in, pulled the case himself, flipped it open, and that was the moment. His eyes locked, his face drained, and for a few seconds he just stared like his brain was trying to rewind time and choose differently. Then panic took over. "This could be fake," he said, voice tight. "People forge these." I told him he could call it in, verify me in under a minute. He shoved the badge case back into my chest hard enough to sting and said, "I don't need to verify anything. Turn around, hands behind your back, you're being detained." That's when it clicked for me. This wasn't confusion. This was fear. The kind that makes people double down instead of admitting they're wrong. Because if he verified me, he'd have to explain why he treated me like a suspect when everything came back clean. If he didn't, maybe he could bully his way out, escalate, make me look guilty on camera. So I didn't argue. I turned around. I let him cuff me. The metal bit into my wrist too tight, like pain was part of the message. He leaned in and whispered, "Shut up." And that's when I noticed the phones. One person filming, then another, then suddenly a small crowd instincts kicking in, people knowing something wasn't right. The second I saw that my approach changed, because now it wasn't just me and him, it was evidence. I lifted my voice, not yelling, just clear and precise. "My name is Marcus Reed. I am a special agent with a federal agency. I am being unlawfully detained without probable cause." He shouted back for me to shut up. I kept going. This officer examined my federal credentials. He saw my badge. He read the designation special agent and chose to handcuff me anyway. Someone in the crowd yelled that I showed ID. Another told him to call his supervisor. He snapped that he didn't take orders from civilians. Another patrol car pulled up. A younger officer stepped out, nervous eyes darting between me, the cuffs, the crowd, his partner. "What's going on?" he asked. The first officer said, "I claim to be federal car, might be stolen, badge, could be fake." The younger officer asked quietly, "You saw his badge?" There was a pause that said everything. "Yeah," the first officer muttered. "But it could be fake." The younger officer swallowed and suggested verifying it. The first officer shut him down. "I'm senior here. Stand down." Dispatch crackled. Supervisor en route. He hadn't called one. Dispatch sent one anyway. A plain sedan pulled up and a sergeant stepped out, tired face, that look of someone who's seen too much. And the thing I'll never forget is he walked straight to me, not his officer. "Sir, I'm Sergeant Carter. May I see your credentials?" I nodded to my jacket. He opened the case and read it out loud for the cameras. "Special Agent Marcus Reed, Public Integrity Division." His eyes flicked to my cuffs, then to the officer, then back to me, and I could see the math happening in his head. He turned to the officer. "What did you do?" The excuses came fast. Description, suspicion, the car. The sergeant cut him off. What description? Silence. There wasn't one. He came back to me and said he was going to have me uncuffed. I told him to do it slowly and step his officer back because this was federal now. The younger officer uncuffed me. My wrists were red, already swelling. I straightened my jacket, took back my credentials, and looked at the man who did it. "You examined my badge," I said quietly. "You read special agent. I saw your face change when you realized what that meant. And you cuffed me anyway." He stared at the ground. I asked the sergeant for the report number, the footage, the complaint history. He nodded, defeated. Then right there, he suspended the officer and took his badge and weapon. The crowd didn't cheer. It was quieter than that. Relief mixed with something heavier. I drove a few blocks and sat in a parking lot, hands on the wheel, just breathing. Then my phone rang. My supervisor. She was already seeing videos online. I told her I needed a case number, because at that point, this wasn't ending with an apology.